we kind of grew up thinking, the more productive you are, the busier you are, the better human you are. But I think, especially going through like a crash and burn situation where your body forces you to now prioritize rest and recovery. What I've learned is if I take 30 minutes midday to do, I like to stack. I use something called the brain tap, which is really good for like brain entrainment. It puts you in a parasympathetic state. And I lay on a PEMF mat, which is very grounding, really good for your nervous system. But if I do 30 minutes of that, I schedule it every day. I know that after that, I am going to be more efficient. I'm going to be a nicer human. I'm actually going to get more work done. So instead of thinking like that 30 minutes, you're being lazy, I'm like, no, it's actually fueling me for the rest of the day.
You know how they say dads are impossible to shop for? I've said this every single year, but this year, I finally found the perfect Father's Day gift, Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth's mission is all about transforming your 5 to 9, that time you're off the clock, into the most comfortable part of your day. And truly, what better gift for the dad who's been your rock, your safe place, than something that makes his time at home feel like a sanctuary? Whether it's their ultra soft bamboo sheets that keep you cool all night, seriously, temperature regulating magic. The all day tee that feels like second skin, or the everywhere pant that somehow looks put together but feels like pajamas. This stuff is next level. I got my partner the all day tee and he hasn't taken it off. It's his new favorite. And if you got a guy who's tough to please, this is a thing he didn't know he needed. And the best part, it's a risk-free purchase. All their apparel comes with a lifetime warranty, so you can definitely give this gift with confidence. This Father's Day, give the gift of comfort that lasts. Head to CozyEarth.com and use code QTC for 40% off all men's apparel. Because for the dads who work hard 9 to 5, they deserve to feel their best from 5 to 9. I am so excited for this episode and to be joined by the two lovely ladies from Biohacker Babes, Lauren and Renee. Welcome to Quiet the Clock.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued and fascinated by the work that both of you are doing, and I have so many questions. But before we jump in, I'd love each of you to share a little bit about yourselves and then tell us how this all came to be, the Biohacker Babes.
Ooh, okay. Well, we're sisters. So we grew up together and we like to say like a health focused family. Our dad is a biological dentist. Our mom is a biological dental hygienist. So we were exposed to biohacking and to health optimization at a very young age. Both grew up on different paths. And I went to school for dance. I went to New York and then performed on Broadway, had some health challenges. Renee can share, she had health challenges. And we both were like, oh my God, we're obsessed with health and with improving our own health outcomes and learning and educating. So we both became health practitioners and then wanted to work together. And since we've lived in separate places for over 20 years now, Renee's in Vegas, I was in New York. I'm now in North Carolina. We were like, we got to make a podcast. Like that's the perfect way for us to combine forces and do what we love to do.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. I have an identical twin sister and she's a registered dietitian and now also doing her clinical hours for a therapist in my practice. And it's always been our dream to work together. So I imagine it's just amazing to connect and work on something so important.
If you get along, it's kind of a dream.
Yeah.
We do most of the time.
Yeah. We get to talk to each other every single day.
That's
right.
Amazing.
It's great.
Yeah. She's like the first person I text in the morning and the last person I text before bed. Yeah. I text her more than my husband, but of course I see it. But,
yeah. Same.
And Renee, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So like Lauren said, I had a similar health journey. I graduated my undergrad and I totally crashed and burned. I had chronic fatigue syndrome and traditional medicine didn't have any answers for me at the time, which led me down to the biohacking path. I had to look at, Epstein-Barr virus, mercury toxicity, circadian rhythm disruption, environmental toxins. I mean, I had to unpack all the things. I was also diagnosed with unexplained infertility when I was 26. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit today, but like,
I'd love to.
Back then, I was going to one of the top fertility centers in the country, and they straight up said nutrition doesn't make a difference. No. And like, I'm hoping
you guys, I can't.
I'm hoping that in 2025, that's not happening anymore.
It's happening. It is.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still happening.
But so that motivated me. I actually ended up writing my thesis on nutrition for male infertility. So more specifically on the male side, because really no one was talking about the male side then. And again, hopefully that conversation is opening up a little bit more. But I was so frustrated that I was like, fine, I'm just going to write my thesis on this and prove you wrong. Yeah. And then the Biohacker Babes came to be about 6 years ago, and it's been a great journey.
So for those listening that might not know, can you guys just kind of give a quick overview definition of what biohacking is?
Sure. We like to say it's anything that is going to optimize your genetic potential. So we're born with a set of genes, but our genes are not our destiny. It's really in our daily lifestyle habits and choices that we make through environment, nutrition, mindset that affect the way our genetics and our biology expresses. So we have full control and agency over our health outcomes. So biohacking is just sort of opting into opportunities that will enhance that outcome and really like increase our health span, vitality, our joy, just make our time on this earth better, like more enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that's so amazing and empowering to hear that we do have control to optimize our health, because I think there's a lot of conflicting messaging that we don't. I also, I'm currently in the secondary infertility journey, and that message is very different. Where there's the age decline and all of that. So it is really empowering to hear that there are ways to optimize health and to probably change health outcomes. And it sounds like you each had some health challenges and journeys. And can you share a little bit more about what those were and how biohacking has helped both of you guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Renee.
Well, I just think something that's really important about biohacking is the bio-individual component of it, right? And so I think traditional medicine maybe still falls into this like one size fits all approach, but we know that we're all different. Like Lauren and I are genetically very similar, obviously, but even we need to do our health optimization programs a little bit differently. So biohacking really teaches you how to listen to your body. So using subjective data, objective data, things like wearables and blood tests and hormone testing, things like that, to really figure out what your body needs and what your body needs today or this year or next year, because it's always changing. So I think the bio-individual approach of biohacking is really, really, really helpful. And that's what really helped me, because traditional medicine was like, we don't really know what to tell you. Your labs are normal. So I'm like, well, I don't feel normal.
Yeah, we love using the air quotes for that. It's like we got to constantly debunk what normal is. And so for me, I went through burnout living in New York, and you live in New York and you're upstate, but there's like just an energetic buzz in that tri-state area that is so palpable. And I think we get into this kind of race where more is better, more productivity, but that also just totally falls onto the female population. We've been given a lot of responsibility, and we're in a male dominant energetic world. And so we just, there's a lot of stressors on us, not just mental, emotional, but chemical. There's environmental stressors. And so we have to do so much to really kind of peel back the layers. And as Renee said, like listen to our bodies, and we don't. And my experience with burnout was my only measure for health at that point was like what I looked like in the mirror or how I felt in my clothes. This is before I knew that like tracking sleep was important, or looking at lab work, or paying attention to digestion or menstrual periods or skin. Like there's so many subtle signs and symptoms, subtle signs and cues that our body is trying to communicate to us daily. And we have to listen to them, because we get so much agency by picking up on those subtle signs and symptoms, because it happens well ahead of a diagnosis or, whatever the health sentence is that conventional medicine wants to bestow upon us.
Yeah, you guys are speaking my language. I'm so disappointed in traditional medicine. And one of my questions or topics I did want to talk about, and Lauren, you kind of already are touching on it, is that intuition of like tuning into our body and listening to what our body is telling us. And even in my work as a therapist, this is all aligned. I work from a person-centered perspective. It is certainly not one size fits all. It's every treatment is tailored to the person who is in front of me. And we see so many more successful results. Like I'm never going to treat one client the same as I would treat another, and interventions are going to be different. And I think it's been really harmful when, Western medicine, traditional medicine comes with this like one size fit all. But even the intuitive part, like, always telling my clients, tune into your body. Our body is giving us cues. And I think, Lauren, to your point, when we're in such a hustle culture, especially New York City, I have the best of both worlds. My office is still in the city, so I can get in and get that energy that feels good, and then I can get out. But what are some ways you guys would say for people to tap into that intuition? What are ways to be able to be more attentive to what our body is trying to tell us? I feel like there's just so much noise and so much happening that like our own internal cues and voices get drowned out.
Yeah. It's part of the title of your podcast. Get quiet.
Yes.
Yeah, quiet. Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah. I think I always recommend someone start with one wearable so they can start tracking some kind of data. Like I think if you're new to the biohacking space, just like an Oura ring is a good place to start because that's going to look at stress, sleep. HRV is an amazing biometric we can get into, looking at really how resilient your body is to stress. Really important in a fertility journey. And then also it does measure activity a little bit, not super accurate, but just start with one tracker. And then as you're learning your body with different things, maybe you change your diet, maybe you change something for sleep or exercise, follow the data, but at the same time, collect subjective data. This can just be a notebook and literally being like, okay, my ring says I slept like this. How do I feel? How do I think I slept? How's my energy? And for cycling women, this is a really cool thing because we can get into cycle syncing. So I think some women, like, they can be hard on themselves when they say, oh, day 26, I'm tired and I just want chocolate. Yeah. Because that time of your cycle, like, you need to rest more. You can't be doing intense workouts and cold plunges and fasting. So as we like learn more about how we feel throughout our cycle, and we can really lean into that and optimize, we can feel amazing through the whole cycle.
Yeah, I think it's part of the problem is this lack of information, this lack of knowledge. And Lauren, you were saying earlier too about sort of the metrics for health were how you looked. And that's really not, and even my experience, especially going through the secondary infertility, once I started doing more testing and more labs, I'm like, I am not healthy. Like my insides are not healthy. So what should be the metrics of health? Like what, a wearable, like you said, Renee, to start gathering that information and seeing what's actually happening. What other like intuitive things or cues should people be looking for to maybe suggest they're not as healthy as they think they are?
I think sleep is such a great thing that everyone can pay attention to. And if we like get even more quiet and listen to that, just having regular sleep routines, waking up feeling rested is such a great sign that your body did what it's supposed to do overnight. That's when we rest, recover, and detox. And detox is maybe a rabbit hole we could go into when it comes to fertility. Like our bodies have to detox because we have cellular waste and we have to detox our hormones. And so if that process is not happening because you're not getting optimal sleep, we could dig into all the reasons why, but simply just waking up and going like, am I rested? And maybe don't beat yourself up for not being rested, but like, let's start keeping a journal of what's happening there. And if you're not clear on that, get some objective data. But I think I just quickly mentioned like getting quiet because your body always wants to give you answers. Your body wants to talk back to you. And if you ask a question, like at some point, if you get quiet for long enough, it's going to give you some intelligence, some intuitive intelligence. So we just have to listen to that. And I think a lot of women skip over that one because it's uncomfortable to get quiet and to be still. Super uncomfortable because we're not getting anything done or we're like afraid of what our body might tell us. But that's our wisdom. And I'll just pause there because I could go into too many rabbit holes. I'll take a break.
Yeah, no, I know. But that's the thing. There's just so much to talk about. Maybe I'll ask one more question in terms of sleep, like some suggestions or maybe biohacks for sleep. If someone is having disruptive sleep or say they're doing the wearable and it is showing like they're not sleeping through the night or it is disruptive, do you guys have any suggestions on how to get in a good sleep routine?
Yeah, I would be consistent. Wake up at the same time every single day. Like Renee was going to say it. Sorry. I just jumped right in. But if you wake up at the same time, you're going to start your clock, your body's going to get tired. So the biggest mistake I see people make, men and women, is that if you're tired or had wake ups, that you like sleep in to make up for that. But you should get yourself out of bed at the same time. If you need to replace some deep sleep deprivation with a short nap in the afternoon, do that. But your circadian rhythm is so reliant on that wake up. Getting up, getting your body moving, get your circulation up, your heart rate up, get light in your eyes, like these environmental cues that start the clock. As you know, like clock is a big thing. We have clocks all over our body, and we are totally in charge of setting those clocks.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was more thinking, I love that. I'm going to start doing that. I have a toddler that doesn't sleep through the night, but I'm still going to try to get up at the same time. But I was
miserable, but like try to make up for it elsewhere, because you're just going to disrupt the rhythm that night, and then you're never going to be in sync.
I feel like there's just, I'm curious your thoughts on this, and we're jumping around, but who cares? Just sort of the things that work against us taking care of our health, whether that's like internal narratives of like, I can't nap. You know, I heard nap and I'm like, how would I nap in the mid, like, you know, I just, you know, do you guys see that or in your work or sort of even conversations you've had with other people that there's a reason or rationale we might not do the thing or prioritize the health in the way that we should?
Yeah. I think especially for women, and I don't know if it's a generational thing, but we kind of grew up thinking, you know, the more productive you are, the busier you are, the better human you are. But I think, especially going through like a crash and burn situation where your body forces you to now prioritize rest and recovery. What I've learned is if I take 30 minutes midday to do, I like to stack. I use something called the brain tap, which is really good for like brain entrainment, puts you in a parasympathetic state. And I lay on a PEMF mat, which is very grounding, really good for your nervous system. But if I do 30 minutes of that, I schedule it every day. I know that after that, I am going to be more efficient. I'm going to be a nicer human. I'm actually going to get more work done. So instead of thinking like that 30 minutes, you're being lazy, I'm like, no, it's actually fueling me for the rest of the day. And maybe you can't do 30 minutes. So maybe it's 2 minutes every couple of hours. I don't have kids. So if you have kids, I'm sure you're thinking, I can't do 30 minutes. But maybe you set your alarm for just 2 minutes every other hour where you just sit and close your eyes and do some box breathing.
Yeah.
Just every time we come down is amazing.
Yeah. I think the reality is I could do 30 minutes, right? It's just just the excuse. It's just like, I've been really working on sort of slowing down and creating more space and prioritizing health, you know, and so for me now it's a choice. Is it the 30 minutes to do the laundry or is it the 30 minutes to relax? And I'm going to now, because I'm more health conscious, I'm going to do the 30 minutes to relax. So I think even doing sort of inventory of like, what are you choosing instead of doing the health thing, right? So God, how many hours do people probably scroll? Like you could be doing 800 health things.
Yeah. So here's a fun activity. For 1 week, keep a notepad where you document what you're doing every 5 minutes throughout the day. It's a lot to do, but it's only for 1 week. And I'm telling you, after you can circle how much time you wasted on Instagram or playing around on your computer or whatever. And it's like, wow, you look at the week and you're like, there's hours of time that I could have been doing something for my health or maybe even doing the laundry or whatever. But just we waste a lot of time and we don't realize it until it's on paper in front of us.
Yeah, I imagine too, like just the data, right? Finally seeing the data, or if you're having the wearing, you know, you have the wearable and like having that really in your face, I feel like is so empowering and enlightening. And, you know, I do similar strategies with my clients of like awareness exercises or pay attention how often you say the word should. And then when they have that data in front of them, it's like mind blowing. It really is about being attentive to what are the behaviors.
Yeah.
I think a piece of data that's so helpful is something like on the Aura Ring. It tracks your stress throughout the day. And we know stress is not all bad, but on Aura, it's measuring when your heart rate is elevated, when your body temperature is elevated. So it's not necessarily emotional stress, but any kind of stress is going to prohibit your body from getting into that parasympathetic relaxation, recovery, where you can recharge your batteries. So that's kind of fun to just check in on that. Because I know if I'm sitting at my computer for too long, that stress marker is like elevated. It's like peaks of the mountain. And if I take 5 minutes to step outside, go out my front door into the sunshine, I see it lower. And so that feedback is so powerful. Because like I can sit here and be like, yeah, get that dopamine hit, like one more email. Like it feels so good, but so does that. And then I get the feedback. Yeah. And it reinforces like that this is a behavior that I should condition. It is a behavior that I can kind of build into my routine.
I think that helps complement this idea that we always want to be productive, right? And trying to shift our mindset that the rest is productive. But then if we're seeing it on like a measurable or the data points, okay, like it kind of feeds that, it feels like feeds that part of the brain that wants to feel like I'm doing something or I've hit the goal or there's like a measurable.
Yeah. We say you can't hack what you don't track in the biohacking space. So seeing that data can be very motivating.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears just a little bit. I mean, it all aligns, but we've been talking a little bit about fertility. And one of the things that we talk a lot about on Quiet the Clock is obviously the biological clock. And so many women feeling the stress of that ticking. We have really harmful narratives out there that 35 is the cliff and it sends women into a freaking panic. And I don't believe that to be true. But from a biohacking perspective, what are some strategies or interventions that can help women optimize reproductive health or potentially extend their fertile years?
So many.
Oh, good. Tell us all of them.
Well, I just want to share one thing and then I'm going to let you run with it. I think with the biological clock, I think looking at biological age testing can be really helpful because chronological age, that's just how many years you're on this planet, what your driver's license tells you. But really, like, what is your internal clock? And that's your biological age. And so you can do that through a test like True Diagnostic or Glycan Age. There's a couple different ones on the market. But I think using that as a metric of how fast am I aging can be really insightful. And if it's faster than you want, then there's a lot we can implement to slow that down. But I think biological age is way more important than your chronological age.
Yeah, I agree. And so, that the narrative of 35 is the end all be all, right? And then again, it's like this one size fits all because someone at 35, you put two women at 35 next to each other, they're probably completely different genetically, biologically.
Yeah. So if I went to a conventional OB/GYN, they would tell me I'm 6 years past that geriatric mark, which is just like so defeating, even just hearing that verbiage. Just like, why? There's got to be another word for it. But my biological age is like sub 6 years, maybe even more. I've done biological age tests where it says I'm 25. So
amazing. You look 25.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But, I'm geriatric. But I just think there's so much that we can do. And I think it a lot of times it really comes down to our cellular health because our cells control everything. We have millions of cells all over our body that are responding to our environment, our lifestyle, our mindset, our nutrition. And this can change tomorrow with healthier habits. And if our cells are healthy, if we can actually get nutrients and nutrition into the cell and get toxins out the way the body is designed to do, we can improve ovarian reserve. We can improve hormone production. We could potentially slow down this aging process for females. And I've seen it time and time again, menstrual cycles just get healthier or this entire aging process just really kind of slows down. Not a client of mine, but a colleague had a client that was moving into menopause and they actually reversed that. She came back out just by improving the health of her cells and doing optimal detox. So it's very possible.
What is optimal detox? Can we talk, because you mentioned detox a little bit before. There's certain things that I've learned and done for myself along this fertility journey, but I'd love to talk a little bit more. Well, environmental toxins is a huge thing where I think we're learning more about, and then ways to detox.
Yeah. So getting your detox pathways open and moving, but they're not open because we're kind of exposed and bombarded by toxins in the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the products that we put on our skin, the products that we use to clean our homes. So just cleaning up those 4 categories: body care, cleaning, air, water, we already make a huge improvement in what our bodies, our cells are taking on, what could be congesting or clogging our drainage pathways. And then there's ways to improve the health of the cells, like phosphatidylcholine or just like phospholipids in general, really improve the cellular membrane so we can get toxins out, get nutrients in. Things like supporting your liver, your lymphatics through movement, rebounding, light, grounding. There's so many, we can kind of dip into those biohacking things, but making sure that the drainage in your body is actually draining the way it's designed to do. But we have too many toxins. We got to reduce the toxins, and then we got to make sure that the plumbing of the body is working well.
So would you say to do those things simultaneously? First of all, what's rebounding?
Ooh, rebounding is using vibration to increase the lymphatic system. So our lymphatic is what controls intracellular to extracellular fluid. So we move waste through our lymph, but we don't have a built-in pump. So we actually have to engage in activities that move our lymph. So rebounding can be done on like a trampoline, like bouncing does that, a vibration plate. You can even just sitting at your chair, just moving your heels up and down and bouncing your heels into the floor creates like a rebounding.
You guys, I'm going to be doing all of these things.
Dry skin brushing, even just squeezing. You always want to go up towards the heart, but just squeezing.
See, that stuff, like you could be sitting at, like you said, like sit at your desk and do. You could sit and do your emails and do
Yeah.
You guys are going to die. We have a trampoline in my living room. Like it's in my living room. No, it's for my son, but I'm going to start jumping on that thing.
You should podcast from your trampoline. I do my morning emails. I have a vibration plate in my office. So instead of like sitting on my butt reading emails, I stand on my vibration plate and read my emails. So that's like an easy stack. There's kind of no excuse for myself.
A little bit easier than being on the trampoline trying to check your emails.
Yeah, that might be a little dangerous. Yeah.
I just do that I'll watch TV while I jump on my trampoline. You only need 5 minutes a day.
Have you guys read the book Atomic Habits, like the habit stacking? Yeah. So I think that book is so incredibly helpful in behavioral change and finding like ways. So that just made me think of it like, something you enjoy, watching a show you probably enjoy while doing two things simultaneously.
Yeah. Don't sit on the couch and watch TV. Find something else that you can do, like stretching or rebounding or, anything. Drinking more water.
Oh, I love just learning that. So my question before I was asking about rebounding was, should we be doing those things simultaneously, like detoxifying our environment while kind of doing things to open up our drainage, or should we detoxify the environment, do both simultaneously? Okay.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Just in like specifics to detox, we don't want to push detox until we know that we have opened those pathways. So really important to kind of check in, make sure your lymphatics are moving, make sure your liver is not congested. And, that's kind of a longer process. Better to work with a practitioner to check that. But we don't want to just start taking some detox products, because if the plumbing's not working, you can imagine, like if your sink has a bunch of hair in it, you pour, whatever down the drain is going to get stuck.
Nothing's
so same in your body. Yeah. But you can certainly remove those toxins from your environment, because that's going to help your body be less burdened so that it does detox, which it naturally should do.
You know how they say dads are impossible to shop for? I've said this every single year, but this year I finally found the perfect Father's Day gift, Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth's mission is all about transforming your 5 to 9, that time you're off the clock, into the most comfortable part of your day. And truly, what better gift for the dad who's been your rock, your safe place, than something that makes his time at home feel like a sanctuary? Whether it's their ultra soft bamboo sheets that keep you cool all night, seriously, temperature regulating magic, the all-day tee that feels like second skin, or the everywhere pant that somehow looks put together but feels like pajamas, this stuff is next level. I got my partner the all-day tee and he hasn't taken it off. It's his new favorite. And if you've got a guy who's tough to please, this is a thing he didn't know he needed. And the best part, it's a risk-free purchase. All their apparel comes with a lifetime warranty, so you can definitely give this gift with confidence. This Father's Day, give the gift of comfort that lasts. Head to CozyEarth.com and use code QTC for 40% off all men's apparel. Because for the dads who work hard 9 to 5, they deserve to feel their best from 5 to 9. What are some other sort of, I would say, some hacks you would recommend in, when we're talking about fertility health in terms of nutrition, or maybe, I don't know, with supplementation would be one. Earlier we were talking about traditional medicine. I mean, these things are not told to us. They're actually kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better term right now, shit talked in the fertility world. And you have women that are really going through hellish fertility journeys, not feeling empowered, not feeling like there's anything that they can do, feeling really lost and desperate, and kind of going through the same protocols and the same transfer after transfer after transfer, retrieval after retrieval after retrieval, kind of being told there's not much you can do, or nutrition and supplementation won't change anything.
Oof. Yeah. I would say check your labs, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of basics, and we can go into that if you want, with, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, getting in nature. But I think an upgraded biohack is looking at your mitochondria. So we know the health of our mitochondria are so important for the ovaries, especially for women, but then also for sperm for men. And if we do things like, there's supplements, urolithin A, PQQ, CoQ10, methylene blue. And then there's stacks, things like red light therapy, maybe even infrared saunas during certain times, castor oil packs. There's upgraded hacks that we can do. I think red light therapy, I think this is going to be a game changer in the fertility world. And in the next couple of years, I think we're going to see it coming. But for women, using red light therapy on right over your lower abdomen, the first half of your cycle. And then the second half of your cycle, you would actually put it on your low back.
Really? Oh, why low back?
Yeah. I think, you're still getting a systemic effect when it's on your skin like that. I think there's some concern, do we want to be supercharging that area if we are potentially pregnant?
Got it.
It could be fine, but I think no one wants to say that, to be safe. So we're saying put it on the back for the second half of your cycle in case you're pregnant.
And then how often would you, this is like a personal question, I did just buy a red light. How often is that daily, you would say, to do that? Or is it every other day to use the red light therapy?
Do you have a panel, or do you have one that actually goes on your body?
I have a box. I just got the Lumi box or something. It's it's like this size. The other night I just held it over my stomach.
Oh yeah. So about 10 minutes per day seems to be the ideal amount. So if you're doing it just on that area for 10 minutes, you could also then put it on your face for 10 minutes or your knee for 10 minutes. But it is somewhat of a hormetic stressor. So we can actually increase free radicals if we do too much red light. So 10, maybe 20 minutes max seems to be a good amount. You don't, so the good news is you don't have to do it for an hour. That's actually too much.
Yeah.
Great to do while you're watching TV.
Yes.
I did. That's what I did the other night.
Yeah. So easy. Yeah, I love that one.
You guys had go ahead, Lauren. Sorry.
Just if I was going to pick a second biohack that would be, and we're talking about technology. So biohacks can be free, getting more grounding, nature, light, kind of returning to ancestral practices. But if we're looking at the technologies like a red light therapy, the other technology I would really pick for fertility would be PEMF, which Renee briefly mentioned before.
PEMF. Okay, that's the mat you mentioned before, Renee. Yeah, yes. I was good. I'm asking her about that when we stop recording, but yes, let's talk about it now.
So it stands for pulsed electromagnetic frequencies or fields. We have native EMFs, and then we have non-native EMFs that come from dirty electricity, from our devices, radiation. The body really requires these natural frequencies, which is what we get from the Earth's resonance. And what PEMF can do is calm the nervous system. And we need to be in a parasympathetic rest recovery, relaxation, not sympathetic fight or flight, stressed, threatened mode if we're trying to get pregnant. Right. So the body is so important to feel safe. And PEMF drops you into that safety net pretty quickly. We also now know that it's so good for optimizing cellular health. So I talked before about reducing stressors, improving the health of the cell. Well, PEMF can improve the health of the cell so that the prenatals or whatever supplements you're taking are actually going to get into your cell, which is always a big thing. You could be taking supplements. Are they actually doing what they're designed to do? If you're toxic, probably not. So we want to make sure that that cell is really healthy. PEMF through the frequencies vibration does that. And we also get the toxins out of the cell. So, and it's like the perfect time out for your day. Just like lay on the mat. You could lay on the mat, watch TV. You could lay on the mat, try to meditate. You could lay on the mat, check your emails if you really want to. But it's so, so helpful at creating that safety in the body, which I think is the number one for fertility.
Number one. And especially if you are going to these fertility journeys or you've had losses like myself, like you just start to not feel safe in your body. You start to blame your body, hate your body, and it's all like counterproductive and intuitive. Wow. Yeah. I'm listening to both of you. I'm like, why didn't I meet you guys a year ago?
There's a million things we both could say. Like, I wish I knew.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
We could be kicking ourselves for the rest of our lives. It's like, we find the information when we're meant to. You know, there's always
I mean, that totally aligns with our messaging. It's like your path is unfolding in the time that it should. And I think there is always so much stress and anxiety when it's not lining up with the time that we thought that it should. So I love that messaging.
Yeah. And we'll add to the PEMF, the mat that Lauren and I both use. The couple that created the mat, they actually just finished a week of really, really cool research. They're going to publish it soon, where they found that it was dropping people's biological age by like 15 to 20 years in one session.
It's
wild.
It's insane.
You guys, I'm not even kidding. I'm ordering this thing as soon as I'm not even joking. Wow.
I'm obsessed. I use it 30 minutes midday, and then I use it 15 minutes before bed. And I climb into bed and I just fall right asleep. I'm just like so calm.
Wow.
We'll just name drop right now. it's called the My Align mat.
I'm ordering. Do you guys have a code? Like, I'm ordering it as soon as we're My Aligned.
Yeah. I think Biohacker Babes, I think, gets you a discount. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of PEMF mats out there, but they have one source, like incredible stones that are very grounding, that are not like painted or like knockoffs. The electrical outlet prevents dirty electricity from transmitting, which we don't want if we're trying to reduce negative EMFs.
Right.
And they've optimized like the frequencies, so they're actually in rhythm with what the earth would potentially give you. So they've done incredible research. They've thought of everything. So awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that's one thing I think in the biohacking space, because it is gaining popularity, there's a lot of junk products and supplements coming on the market. And a lot of times I think it's not worth it to buy the cheap version because you could do more harm. And PEMF is one of those things. Like, I would rather you not use a PEMF mat than use like a cheap junk EMF one that's on Amazon or something.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's so challenging. There's information overload, especially in like the wellness space. And how do you find reputable products, reputable supplementations? I know for me, the way that I have found them is working with a practitioner that I trust, that is knowledgeable on those things. I know there are so many bad products, to your point, and supplements out there.
Yeah. I think get to know the owners. Like we spend a lot of time just talking with people that are creating these products, really looking at the research behind it. And I mean, there's a lot of products on the market that will claim, oh, this is the research on it, but it's research on PEMF in general. It's not on their mat. You know what I mean? So I think just getting to know the people that are running the companies is really, or like you said, or a practitioner that you trust is doing the homework.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, I'll save this question for a little bit later. I want to talk a little bit about the impact of stress. I think as we've mentioned, as women, we wear so many hats. We do have these sort of messaging and narratives of what it means to be productive, also what it means to be successful. And there's this constant like strive for the goals. It's a lot of what we talk about on my podcast, Quiet the Clock, is like the anxiety and stress to meet these goals or these things that we deem successful, whether it's career, partnership, motherhood. How does stress impact the body? I know in many, many ways. And what are some biohacks to help manage stress? Aside from maybe the ones, it sounds like all the ones we've already talked about would help with stress levels, but are there any specific to stress?
Yeah. I think just to start off, when your body is in that stressed fight or flight state, which is not bad, we need that, right? If we get in a car accident or something, emergency situation happens, we do need to get into that fight or flight. But we don't want to be in that state all day long, because when we're in that state, our immune system isn't functioning at optimal levels. Our digestion is not optimized. No healing and rejuvenating is happening in that state. So we want to tap into that fight or flight, get out of the emergency situation, and then get back into parasympathetic as quickly as we can. And the quickest way to do that is breath work. And it's simple and it's free.
And you can do it anywhere.
You can do it anywhere. Find what works for you. Just even like box breathing or in for 4, out for 8. Like find what works for you. And that goes with you everywhere you go. And if you want to go a little bit more down the rabbit hole, something I really like is HRV biofeedback. And so we briefly mentioned HRV. So if anyone's not familiar with that, heart rate variability. This is looking at the variation between each heartbeat. And that is telling us how stressed out your body is and how resilient your body is to stress. So anyone on their fertility journey, you should be looking at HRV for whatever tracker you want to look at. Because you can really see like, how did that high intensity interval training yesterday impact me today? Or that fasting or whatever. You can look at all the different metrics. But HRV biofeedback is actually personalizing your breathwork routine based off of your HRV. Oh, wow. Yeah. And so you can just get like just any heart rate monitor that you wear like around your chest or around your arm. And then the app I'm currently using is Optimal HRV. And so, yeah, it's measuring your HRV in real time and telling you how to breathe. And you're going to see an instant rise in your HRV. And so I call this like the HRV gym. So we want to go to the HRV gym every day, 5 or 10 minutes a day. And over time, we're going to create more resilience. So your body says, oh, that's how I get into parasympathetic much faster over time.
Wow. What I love about that HRV gym is it's going to train you for those moments, because how many times maybe have you told yourself, I should de-stress or I should breathe? You don't remember it in the moment. Like I can tell clients all day long, breathe more. Like forget it. It goes
like
out the window.
Reminders, like the Apple Watch is like, it's stand up, take a breath. Or like, I actually did just get in a pretty bad car accident. Now I have this stupid rental car. And it's like, last time you took a break I was like, well, I'm driving. Why are you telling me to take a break?
Yeah, shut up. I don't have time for this right now.
But even when you, to your point, like even when you get the reminders, you're like probably in the middle of something. You're like, whatever, I'll do it later.
Or it's triggering because you're like, ugh, not now. But if you go to HRV gym, your body gets better at doing it naturally. But I would say, if you can remind yourself to breathe, and like doubling your exhale is such a great, like if you do think of it. I also love just sighing. I'm like constantly sighing. My husband would be like, what's wrong? I'm like, I know. I am just regulating my nervous system. Like sighing is one of the most amazing ways, and it may feel silly or dramatic, but I'm like, it works. Just like, because it's a double exhale naturally. So whatever, you can tell the people in your family around you, like sighing is healthy. So that's just like an in the moment thing you can do in addition to going to HRV gym. Another thing, maybe a little, I could just call it fringe, but I do a lot of microdosing work with clients. And, there's not a lot of studies on women that are in a fertility journey or pregnant, because that's it's very difficult to study. But leading up to your fertility journey, if you are someone that tends to be very stressed, stuck in fight or flight, or have had an unresolved trauma, microdosing can really help your body to adapt and get out of that fight or flight, to come back to a safe
And you're saying microdosing
area.
like mush, am I? Yes. Okay. I'm doing that. I'm doing that right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
I was nervous to do it while in it, but for the reason of my nervous system, I'm like, I'm not well, like I need help. So every other day I'm doing that. And and I'm working with somebody that's supporting me with that. But it's been very, very, very helpful. I mean, we could probably talk all day, sort of the impact of emotions and mental health which we'll talk about when I come on your podcast. But, it was really devastating. I mean, this has been really devastating to me. And so I think having that support has been very helpful.
Yeah. Just being able to like slow things down, like psychedelics really do slow down time. It gives you space to be able to say, oh, there's a stressor. How do I want to respond? Where without it, time just goes so fast. We don't even have the ability to choose that response. So I've seen incredible things happen with my mommy clients or my mom-to-be clients, where it's just like they get more time to practice that stress response. And that is such a game changer.
I've also noticed for myself, I'm way more in tune with like the gratitude moments. Like I'm like just more, I don't even know how to explain it. You guys probably know what I'm trying to get at, but just there's more awareness and attunement of like, connection and moments that I am happy or something's brought me joy, I'm just like, I can recognize it a little bit more instead of, can be in this cloud where you don't see a lot of things. And then there's this overwhelm of like, I should meditate, I should journal, I should like do all these things to make me hyper aware. And I think having the mushrooms has helped me kind of do that without the stress of I have to do this thing and then I have to do this thing and then I have to do this thing to take care of myself.
Yeah. There's less like shooting yourself on mushrooms for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And less of that multitask brain. Like I noticed when I'm microdosing, it feels uncomfortable to multitask. It forces me to just be like in the moment and less forward thinking.
Totally.
So you can just like slow down. Lauren, there's a great book. I actually haven't read it, but I can really relate to what you told me about the book. A Really Good Day. Is that the name of it?
Oh, yeah. Ooh. A Really Good Day.
Just a synopsis of it. I'm like, that totally makes sense.
Oh my gosh. This book is so good. I can't remember her name. I'll figure it out and tell you, but it's a mom. She's something in mental health and she's licensed. So her even potentially microdosing was like a big deal because she was not allowed to engage in that legally for her job. But she microdosed LSD and it completely changed her relationship with her husband and her children.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, it's sort of, I think it is hopefully the next iteration of therapy is introducing the psychedelics. But yeah, of course there's controversy. There's controversy around anything different. I am curious for you guys if you see that or resistance to these ideas or, I know in my experience, like with fertility doctors, there's a lot of like, no, that doesn't work, or no, I swear it's not, this is not, I had my doctor sit across from me and say, I have Hashimoto's. So I had my doctor say to me that my thyroid has nothing to do with my fertility, which is inaccurate. Do you guys see pushback on sort of these biohacking interventions? Or do you see more?
Yeah, because conventional medicine really does have to stay in their lane of what has been proven over time. And I respect that. We need studies. But the problem with studies is they're not looking at the bio individual. So there's like a million different ways that the body can be supported. So that's why through like part of biohacking is the N of 1 experimentation. But also what we really feel strongly about is empowering our audience, our clients to do their own research. And at the end of the day, you have to decide what makes sense to you. That's always how, like, if I'm conflicted about opinions out there, like I sit with it. And at the end of the day, I'm like, this makes sense. This feels good to me. This resonates with me. Maybe I'll take the next step at maybe trying to integrate this or experiment with it and see what the outcome is.
Yeah. And I think that circles back to where we started about the intuition is like, how did this make me feel? Did this work for me? And again, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, I've took so many notes on all the things I'm going to do and order. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any questions I wanted. Oh, yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about, and you guys have created an amazing community, is sort of the power of community and support, especially for women. And I'm wondering if that's one of the free biohacks is having a support system, having connection, especially in a world where we're still quite a bit virtual. I'd love for you to speak a little bit about like the power of community.
Yeah, I think it's possibly the greatest biohack is having a community, having a social connection, relationships. And I love looking at the blue zone regions where we see a higher percentage of centenarians. Yeah. And we were actually just talking about this yesterday and how it's kind of all over the place with like what they're eating, and some drink alcohol, some don't drink alcohol. But you know what they all have is they all have community and social connection and purpose. I think purpose you can kind of tie into that. I think both of those are so important. Now they're saying loneliness is potentially worse than smoking. And I believe it. I believe it. So, and I think especially if you're in a fertility journey, I know I experienced this. Like I didn't have anyone to really talk about this with. I tried having kids before most of my friends. And so, I felt very alone in the journey. My husband's amazing and he was so supportive and we were a team, but I didn't have anyone else to talk to. And I think that finding that community, and I think it's easier now. We have podcasts and social media and stuff. Hopefully you can meet people, even if it is virtual. But setting that up is so, so important.
Yeah, I noticed a difference within myself. So now I mostly work from home. I still have my office space in the city, which, I'll go down there either to do like content. That sounds so silly. It's social media stuff. But or like record the podcast in person, but like the energy it gives me, not just being in New York City, but just being with people. I mean, I literally chose a profession to be in a room with somebody, and now it's mostly on screen. So I even notice just kind of my mood shift and change when I'm in the company of other people.
Yeah, I think we can look at a biochemical level too. We know there's so much research, and one of our favorite hormone doctors, Dr. Anna Kabecka, talks a lot about oxytocin, which is like the love hormone. When we're in social connection, or if we have physical intimacy, even if it's just a hug, it could even just be hugging your dog, your pet, or hugging your husband or your friend. Like, hugs release oxytocin. Being in social connection releases oxytocin. And there's research showing oxytocin actually improves the HPO axis. So your hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis. So that contributes to better ovarian health. So that would, like, just hugging someone could make your reproduction work better.
Yeah. So I feel like, as many people that are in New York City, there can be like loneliness, or you can lack touch. And a lot of the women that have come on my podcast, or even the women I've worked with in my practice, live in New York City, or are these like type A, very like ambitious professional women that are just going a mile a minute. And I think are missing out on a lot of the things that we've talked about. And one of the things we talk about a lot too, in addition, what falls under infertility is egg freezing. And I've learned so much now. And I think everything that you guys are talking about too is, I still stand by it as a great choice for women. I think knowing all of these things, putting some of these things in place a few months in before you're doing the procedure would optimize results.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely the sooner that you start. And I think Renee can probably speak to this even more, but like bringing the male partner into this, because it's a 50-50, like so much falls just on the female. We know like the health of the male is so important at contributing to that creation. And
that's a whole, we could go on. I think there's still for men, a lot of stigma on, not all men, we're not to generalize on acknowledging that, or even getting them to go in for testing. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be elevated for sure. Definitely needs to be some advancements in the fertility world. I hate to report that it's not much better.
It's crazy. Hard to believe.
What's better is stuff like this. What's better is that there are resources, but we have to seek them out. It's not like we're getting them in our fertility doctor's office, but the beauty is that they're there. We just have to do our own research and due diligence to find other supportive interventions and tools to support our health.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely more access to that. Yeah.
100%.
I know back when I was going through that, I mean, I had like 10 books on my shelf I was reading, but I don't even think Instagram existed then. Podcasting was like just starting. Like there was nothing.
When I froze, I'll be 44 at the end of, oh my gosh, so it is April. Yeah, I'll be 44 at the end of this month. And when I froze my eggs at 37, I knew only one other person that did it. So to see the progression of the information out there, more women that are speaking on it, and yes, these platforms have been really helpful for that, to push these conversations forward and to fill the knowledge gap. So that's a very nice progression we're seeing for sure. Yeah. You two are amazing. My gosh, I have learned so much personally just speaking to both of you. Like this has been incredible. I know it's going to be so valuable to my audience, and it's hopeful, and it's hopeful and reassuring that we can take control of our own health. We can improve our health. We can improve our fertility health. It's debunking this outdated, harmful narrative that 35 is the cliff. So that's extremely empowering and helpful. Before we wrap up, just I'm sure everyone's going to want to know more and learn more from you guys. So just tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. So we have our podcast, The Biohacker Babes. We release a new episode every Monday, and you will be on our podcast soon. We're so excited. Our website is thebiohackerbabes.com. You can find us on Instagram. That's where we hang out the most, biohacker_babes. And then we have our personal pages, which you could find from there too. But please message us. We're around. We love to chat with people because, this format, we don't see you. So we love to hear from people.
Oh, Lauren, Renee, thank you so much. It was amazing to have you both here. Hey guys, I'm Beth. Thank you so much for tuning in to Quiet the Clock. If you want to hear more episodes and learn more about how to dismantle societal timelines, live life on your own terms, live life fully and authentically, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Quiet the Clock Pod. You guys, I'm really excited. We just created all this amazing merch. And so if you're loving the podcast and you want to support our cause and continue to hear amazing episodes, please support us by buying some merch. I am living in these sweatshirts every day. We have a range of colors. We have hoodies, we have mugs, we have hats, we have journals. We have all of the things, and I love having them on because it's just a reminder to quiet the clock, to slow down, to like let life unfold and be happy. So there's meaning and purpose behind wearing it too, which is a nice reminder. So check out our website, quiettheclock.com, to get your merch.